the ones who are here right now in the event, you have already attended the first session that was taken up by Sohail. So you might have an idea about the basics, since I have been told that the audience we have right here is quite a beginner one. So that's okay. We'll be learning about all of these features from the scratch, and not very basic or not very naive. Like even if you have some expertise, you won't get bored or something like that. We'll be doing the practical implementation as well. Plus we'll be discussing about these concepts. So this is the itinerary that we'll be following throughout the session. First, we'll be talking about what is an intent and some things related to it. After which we'll have a demonstration for it, so that we can have the practical implementation side by side. Then we'll have a break, like a breather, so that you can just go and roam around and come back, just like a breather. Then we'll discuss about what is a fragment, contents about it, then again a breather, and then we'll have the calling feature, SMS feature, and then it's demonstration, and then we can just conclude with the session. And the session is for 3.5 hours, but I hope to conclude it earlier, because 3.5 hours is too long a time for listening to a single person. So yeah, so let's start with what is an intent. So first of all, let me just clear this out, that we'll be working with Java for this session. And in the first session as well, I guess you've worked with Java. So if you work with Kotlin or something, don't mind listening to this session, because ultimately you're learning the concept and later on you can implement it using Kotlin later on. So you will not just get the code for Java, but also the concept. And knowing the concept is obviously very important, because you should know what you're actually writing and what you're actually making in Android. So talking about what is an intent. So an intent is a messaging object that you can use to request an action from another app component. So that's what you get the definition everywhere across the net. So basically, what is an intent? To understand that, we first must know what is an activity. So if you are very new to Android, if you just don't know, like if you haven't even created a single application, just consider activity to be a page, a single page of your application. So your activity in Android is a single screen in an Android app that represents a specific task or operation that a user can perform. So if you see here, I have some snippets of my Instagram itself. So you have screenshots here. So most of you might be using Instagram. So whenever you open Instagram, you come up to this page, right? And then you have some buttons here. And when you click on them, you open the subsequent pages. The search one, then your new reel something, or your profile, or your messages, your notification here. So you open your subsequent pages this way. So if you are new to Android, or if you are naive, if you're not a developer, what you call them is different pages. So this is your maybe home page, that's your profile page, that's your notification page, your messaging page. But in the development side, these are called as activities. So these particular individual pages are known as activities. So a single application can consist of multiple activities, and when these activities are combined together, you form your application. So when I combine these activities, and Instagram is also has many other activities, and like these are just some of the activities here out, but it has a lot of many activities. So when all of those activities get combined, you form a single application. So now let's come back to what is an intent. Now that we know what's an activity, we can jump back to what is an intent. So an intent in Android is a message that is used to communicate between different components of an Android app, like activities, services, broadcast receivers, and content providers. In simple terms, let us say these are three activities of your application. Let's say you create your application, you have an application that you create, and you make 3 pages or 3 activities for it. Activity 1, 2, and 3. Now, you need some component to switch from one activity to the other. Like here, if I click on one particular button, I can jump up to the next page or the next activity. Similarly, I need something here that takes me to the other activity. So let's say if I put a button in my activity, like in Instagram, we have the notification one, similarly in WhatsApp and other features as well, other applications as well. So if I click on a button or a link or anything, another page opens up. So there has to be some messaging component or something at the back that tells that yes, this page has to open up when this button is clicked or when this link is clicked. So that's a messaging component, and that messaging component is called your intent. This is what intent does. It takes you from one activity to the other. Like basic functioning, if you see, it is this, like this is what intent is. So now intent can take up your content. Maybe you're just opening up a new activity. Maybe you're sending across some data from one activity to the other. We'll be seeing it as we implement it. So this is like all of this is done by intent. It is in short a messaging component that is taking you from different components to different components. So intent is a messaging component that is used to request an action from another app component. Maybe just to open up, maybe to take your data or anything, and it facilitates communication amongst different components. So if you just create different pages, it won't work. You have to connect them, and that is done using your intent. So I hope that clears out what is intent actually. So now that we know what is an intent, what is an activity, why do we need an intent? So as I just explained you, like for starting an activity, like in the previous slide I just showed, like why do we need an intent? That's for starting an activity. Next is starting a service, like in like your email or a web browser. So let's say for your application, you have two activities, activity one and activity two. Okay? And on the first activity, I have a button here. And if I click on that button, it will take me to the second activity. So that is one function, starting an activity. Next, if suppose on my second activity, I have a link, any website link, Google, YouTube, or anything, let's say abc.com. So I want that when my user clicks on that link, I want that web page to open up or the web browser to open up. So if I click on that link, that web page opens up, the website opens up, or that browser opens up, your default browser. So this is also handled by intent. It opens up a service. If you have checked some applications wherein, let's say you have customer support or something, when you click on it, it directly opens up your email browser, your default email browser. So that is also done by intent. When you click on the link, it opens up your email browser. So that's how intents help us start a service. And next is delivering a broadcast. So let's say your phone's battery is very low. Then you might have observed that some of your applications in your phone flash you a warning that the phone's battery is low, you need to charge your phone. And even if you are on a video call on WhatsApp, like a very genuine example, a very general example, even if you're on video call, even the person whom you're talking to gets a message that the person's battery is low and the call may end soon or something like that, right? So that is all done by intent. So basically, it is doing a broadcast. Your Android operating system is doing a broadcast that the phone's battery is low, and all these applications that are using the battery need to get a warning that the battery level is low. So that's how intent works. Like these are the fundamental use cases of intent. Then comes the types of intent. Explicit and implicit intent. And this is very important when you're making an Android application. If I just explain it in simple, very simple terms, explicit intent is when you are mentioning your target, and implicit intent is when you're not mentioning your target. As in explicit content, let's say if suppose on Instagram, when I'm clicking on the notification button, that heart-shaped button that's on the top right now because of the new update. So when you click on that heart-shaped button, you know that the notification activity will open up. So that's your explicit intent because you know that what is your target activity, where are you actually going. But in implicit intent, you do not know where are you going. And how does that happen is, like, suppose if you are in your gallery, suppose you're scrolling through your gallery, phone's gallery, and you want to share an image. So you hold on it, you click on the share button, then the menu pops up that how do you want to share it, through WhatsApp, through Instagram, through any other application that you have. So the choice is given to the user. Like we do not know that we do not know what's the next target activity. So that's your implicit intent, wherein you are like you do not know what's the target activity. You do not mention it explicitly that yes, I want the user to go from this activity to this activity. So that's your implicit intent, wherein it is not directed to any specific component. So now that we have discussed much about intents and their types, we can now go for a demonstration for intent. It's like, are you guys following up? Like, if you have any doubts still here, you can just put it in the chat box or something. And side by side, please open up your Android Studio so we can start working on it. So I hope you all have learned how to create a new project in the first session. So I'll just open up a new project. Even if you haven't attended it, I'll show you. You need to open your Android Studio, click on the new project, come down to empty activity and click on next. So you can just give a name to your application. Let's say I'm just giving it sample for now. Sample, and choose the language as Java. Make sure to take it as Java, and just click on finish. It will just take a minute to load. Okay. So are you guys following up? Like, if you are you with me till here? Are we on the same page? Like, hello.
Yes, Devi, on the same page.
Okay, great. Okay. So let's say I'm here. This is my main activity, and maybe I can create one more activity to show you how we move from one activity to the other. So come down here to resources folder, here down to layout, right click on layout, and then go down to activity. You go to layout, new, and activity, empty activity. So you can give it any name you want. Maybe I'm giving it a name as let's say second activity. Okay, so the second activity is ready. I'll just mention here something so that we can know when the activity changes. Let's say activity 1, and here on the second activity I'm writing activity 2. Just constraint it, and to make it center you can just make both of them 0, so it gets center constraint. And yeah, so I have activity 2. I'll change the color so that we can see the difference clearly. Here, if this is how we color in here using the hex system. So basically, I hope you all know, and if you are new and if you do not know how this color system works, this works basically on the RGB color system, wherein we are using hexadecimal numbers. If you've learned hexadecimal numbers, they go from 0 to 9 and then from A to F. So when we go from RGB, there are like 6 digits, 6 letters here. So you know, the first two are for R, then G, then B. So once you adjust these, like since red, green, and blue are the primary colors, and all the colors are derived from those three colors. So once you adjust red, green, and blue, you form different colors. Like if I make it, let's say 5, or maybe this has 3, you see how colors are changing, right? So this is how RGB system works. So you do not need to know every color. Even if you just know, like, see, if I just make this all F, like 6 times F, it gives us white. And if I make it all 0, that's the starting number and F is the last number, right, in hexadecimal. So it gives me all black. So you do not need to remember it for every color. You can just come here on this box, click it, and you can just take your custom color. Maybe I'll just give it a blue, and I'll copy this line from here. And I'll change the color, let's say yellowish something. Okay, so now we have both the activities in different colors. Okay, so I hope your emulators have been set. So you can just run it first. I'll just run it once. Wait, this is the other application. Okay, yes. This is one of the issues some of you might face with your Android Studio. So if you are facing this issue, you just need to go down to your Gradle build here at the module level. Click on it. Here you will find your compile SDK and your target SDK as a different number. So this Android Studio might show you something here. They might give you a number on its own. So you just need to change its number. It's 32 here, so I'll make it 33. And you need to sync it. Yeah, it's fine now. Okay. So I'll run this application. Okay, so here you see activity 1 is here. Now this is where I have created 2 activities. Now how do I jump to another activity? I have done nothing here, how I can move to my other activity. So that's where we use intent. That is how we shift to intent, and that is how intent helps us to move to other activities. So you can put a button here, you can put an image here, you can put any component that you have, any component that you want, and use it as your target for making an intent. So if you put a text view, if you put an image, if you put a button, if you put anything and put an intent over that, it will lead you to the next activity. Let's say for now, I'm using this text view itself, or maybe I can put a button here. So I'll take a button, put it here, make it left and right constraint, 0, 0, and top constraint. Okay, I have a button. I have to give it an ID. So this is an ID already given button. And for here, let's say I'll just give it text or let's say TV. Okay, TV. Now I'll go to the main activity. Since this is the main activities XML, I'll go to main activity Java. We have to declare what all we declared there. So I have a button here. Then I have a text view here. And here we have to combine it with its ID. So r dot ID dot the name of the ID that you've given there. So here I have it as button. So I'm making it as button. It's so that the variable that I've declared here gets linked to its ID. And then I have TV is equal to find v by I r dot ID dot TV. Okay. Now you might get a error here. That's because of the constraints that are missing here, the warnings that are here. So you don't need to worry about it. Just press Alt Enter and it will show you an option for suppressing missing inflated. So it will put up a line here and all the errors will be gone. That's because of the warnings that are shown here. It's just the hard-coded index text that you have put a explicit text here. That's not of a use if you're a beginner. So that's okay. You can just put up this line there that automatically comes up. So that's not a worry. Okay. Now that we've declared both our text view and button, we want that whenever we click on that button, I'll just click, right? Yeah. Okay. So I want that whenever I click on this button, my second activity should open up, right? So in this case, we're using intent. Intent will take me from one activity to the other. So what am I going to do is button dot set on. I hope so. Hale has taught you about set on click listener. It's a listener. It's extending the view class. So whenever we're pressing the button, on click listener is a listener class, which will tell you that yes, once I'm clicking on this button, anything that I'm writing in this function, the on click function, will execute once I press the button. So I am writing intent. Intent is a class, and I'll create an object intent, new intent. So that's a simple Java syntax of declaring a new object for a class. So intent is equal to new intent. And in the bracket, I'm going to write so what have I done here is that I have written main activity dot this, second activity dot class. So in this bracket, the parameter that we're providing for this object intent is first main activity dot this. Main activity dot this, why we written this, that we're telling that you have to go from main activity to second activity. So we're mentioning source and destination from to. Okay. So first we mention kahan se jana hai, then we mention kahan aana hai. Then I'm writing start activity intent. So what is this line doing is start activity intent. It is telling, it is calling my activity and saying, it is calling my Android telling ki activity, you have to open an activity which is mentioned in the parameter. And what is mentioned in the parameter? It is given an instance of intent class, which is telling it to go from main activity to second activity. Okay, so this is an instance of the intent class, which is telling the main activity say we have to go to the second activity. So let's run this. Will take some time installing. Yeah. So I have the button here that I created here. If I click on the button, it is taking me to the second activity now. So that's how you move from one activity to the other using intent. And that's not important that I can do it only using my button. You can also do it from your text. If I come here and put it the same for my text. So if I write tv.set on click listener, the same thing as I did it for my button. So if I copy the same line here and run it again. So this is opening up. Button se to pehle bhi khul raha tha. Now we can also take it from the text. If I click on the text, it is also taking me. So you can take your imagery, your button, text, anything you want, and you can put your intent into that on by adding the intent function there, and then it will take you to the next activity. So now this is your explicit intent, wherein you are mentioning कि हाँ मुझे main activity से second activity पे जाना है. You're explicitly mentioning that yes, I want to go to my second activity. So this is your explicit intent. So does anyone have any doubts so far? You can just put it in the chat box, or I guess there's a Google form being circulated, right? So you can just put your doubts there.
Yeah, yes, Didi, we will conduct a question and answer session at the end.
Acha, okay, cool. So I hope this is clear. You can also turn on your mic if you have any like immediate doubt, or if it's clear, you can also put a heads up. That's okay. Cool, I guess there's no doubts. Okay, now we talk about implicit intent. Now, let's say I am going back to my main activity here. Okay, now on my main activity, I want that, let's say this is a quote. Maybe I'm writing a quote here. Let's say I'm writing a quote here that anything. I just read this morning, so I'll write this. Okay, so this is a quote I just read in the morning. Okay, now I want, let's say I have made an application, which is, let's say, a quote application, quotes application, and I want key whatever quote is coming up in my app, I want to share it with my friends. So maybe this is the quote that I want. I'll just increase the size. This should do. Okay, cool. So this is my quote, and I want this quote to be shared. So this is the button for sharing, and I'll just write down here, share. Okay. So what I want is that if I click on this button, I should get an option to share this quote with people. So I go to main activity Java, and here I'll just remove this from my texture because I don't want this here. And here in the button itself, what am I going to do is, I'll remove this as well. So pehle to I want that this code needs to be shared, so I have to store it in my some variable, right? So I'll write maybe string, let's say text is equal to tv dot get text dot toString. So basically tv is my text view here. So the text that is written in here, I'm getting that text and converting it to string. Why toString? Because Java works only with strings. Even the numbers that you type in are taken as strings. Okay. Then I create an object. Similar way that we did the last time. उसमें हमने parameter के अंदर भी mentioned, इसमें we're not mentioning. It's just an object created of intent class. Now I'm writing intent dot set action. Okay, before that, if you see, if I just write set, So you see set action, set type, set data, set flag, set class, like different, there are so many set functions available. Now, why is that? I'll tell you after we complete this, but just keep in mind that you see many functions here. Okay, so I'm having set action and intent dot action. So here also you can see that there are so many options: action send, answer, assist. You have call, camera, call button, delete, dial. You have so many options of action. But here we are using send because I am basically sending this quote to someone. So I'm using action send. Then intent dot set type. Like what is the type of the message that's going? So that's just a plain text. Okay. Then intent dot put extra intent dot extra text. I'll explain after I write this, like what all have I written here. And start activity intent. Okay, so let me just run this once to see if there's any issue. Okay, if I click on the share button. Okay, cool. So basically what have I done here is I have declared the text, this I explained कि हमने text वहाँ से जो लिया, this quote I've stored it in my text variable. So anything that's written here is stored here. You can also make it an edit text instead of being a text box here. You can make it an edit text. You can put in something, you can just write something and you can then just share it up. Okay, but here I've written a hard-coded text जो मैंने already declare कर दिया that I want to share this. Okay, then I have intent. I have declared a new object. Then intent set action, intent set type, intent put extra. And there were also a couple of other options when I was writing, I showed it to you. So what are these options? Basically, these are your objects of intent. So when you are, as I explained, intent is used for multiple purposes, for starting an activity, for starting a service, or for broadcasting. So if I'm starting a new activity, do I just have to open that activity, or do I have to pass some content to that activity? Maybe if I'm sharing something, so I'm actually passing the content, right? Maybe I'm sharing an image, maybe I'm sharing a text, maybe I'm sharing a phone number, anything. So I'm actually sharing something. So am I just opening that activity? Am I sharing something? Am I making a call? What am I actually doing? So that intent has to take that because it's a messaging component, right? तो उसको एक activity से दूसरी activity में it has to take that thing because it has to send a message that yes, you are being called, this activity is being called, you have to perform this action. So set action is कि what action do I want to be performed? So I have action send. I showed you there were a couple of options here. So when I click on action, so you have answer and so many options out there. So out of all these options, what I want is I want to send something. Then what is the type of thing that you are sending? It's a plain text or written plain text. It can be a web address, it can be a phone number, anything. In this case, I'm just taking a plain text. Then put extra. Put extra is basically what content are you passing? So I'm passing this text. What is this text? The text that we have taken from the text view. So this is the put extra. When we go down for that calling feature, then also you see put extra. So if you have to mail somebody, if you're opening your email browser from your intent, then in put extra you will mention कि कौन सी email ID पे mail करना है. When you're calling someone, you will mention which phone number has to be called. So put extra basically takes in your data, your phone number, or what data has to be worked upon. Okay, and then start activity like we had it for explicit content. Similarly, here also we have start activity intent. So now if you see, when I click on the share button, this emulator shows me the following options that how do you want to share it, through your messages, through your mail, through your drive. Now, this is just an emulator. In your phone, if you run it on your phone, you will be given multiple options, your WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter, Telegram, जो भी applications you use. Okay, so I can choose whatever app I want and I can go. So this is implicit intent because I am not telling it that you should share it using messages or using WhatsApp or using Instagram. I'm just saying share kar do, and the user will automatically decide how the user wants to share it. So this is your implicit intent. So I guess this is clear. So now we talk about fragment. That's the second topic for today. So what is a fragment? Now basically you can relate fragment to an activity. It's like an activity. There are many things similar between them, but there's a big difference. So first let's discuss what a fragment is. So a fragment in Android is a portion of activity that is used to represent a part of the UI, that is the user interface. So basically you can consider a fragment as a sub activity or a part of an activity, a mini activity. So why do we need a fragment when you already have an activity? So fragment has many uses, and the primary three uses are navigation, reusing UI components, and for your screen size, like it provides different layout for your screen sizes. So basically, the third reason that is written here, providing different layout for different screen sizes. So this is not a very useful concept for us right now here, but I'll just explain it to you in simpler terms. Let's say this is my phone. Okay, you might have had some applications, or you might have used some applications wherein you have a drawer menu. If you do not know what's a drawer menu, you might have seen three lines as a menu on the left corner, top left corner of your phone screen. When you click on it, a menu opens up to your, slides into your screen. And if you click on back, it goes back. So that's your drawer menu, which opens up and then closes. So that's called a drawer menu because it opens up like a drawer. So if you use a phone that works as a drawer menu, it will open up, it will go back, and your main activity, main page, main application is still there. The menu comes up, goes out. Whereas if you work on your tablet or your tab on an iPad, which has a bigger screen, in that case, what you, because since it has a bigger screen, so you have your main app content here plus the menu, that drawer menu opened at this side. So that is because in case of a tablet, it has a bigger screen, so it has a different layout. So you can have your different, all the components presented in front of you in the single same screen. But in case of Android, the phones that you have, the smartphones, their screens are smaller, so we have different layout for them. So in that case, we use fragments because it helps us to adjust with those different layouts, with different screen sizes without interfering with the app's UI a lot. Like it does not interfere with the app's UI a lot. So the primary two reasons that we'll be considering for now are navigation and reusing your UI components. So reusing your UI components is the most important one, wherein let's say again, I have this Instagram screenshots that I showed you earlier. So if you see in all these screenshots, one thing is common, that is this bottom navigation menu. So bottom navigation menu is this line that you see with 5 icons. So why bottom navigation menu? Because it's a menu, it is giving you several options. Bottom because it's at the bottom, and navigation because it is helping you to navigate from one screen to the other. If you click on this, you open this page. If you click on this, you open some other page. If you click on this, you open the Reels page. It's helping you to navigate. So that's your bottom navigation menu. Now, if you observe in all of those pages, this bottom navigation menu is prominent. Other things are changing. So that's how you're reusing your UI components. So in this case, your fragment is used. Earlier, when fragments weren't there, I guess till Android 11, I guess version 11. Till then, we used to have activities itself. So every time when you're making this page, this page, this page, this page, this page, you have to put in your navigation menu, navigation menu, navigation menu every time. But since the use of fragments, we just have to create a fragment once and we can put it everywhere, and that helps us by reusing the code. Secondly, the second one is navigation. So this, I use this example because it's clearing out both of the things. So here, if you see, instead of making different activities every time, I just have a single menu here, which is helping me navigate from one place to the other with the help of a fragment itself. So now, how do you differentiate that if this is a fragment or if this is an activity? So let's say fragment, in this case, you see, these are supposed to activities of a single application. Okay? Here, both these applications have one component. Like there are multiple, these bubbles that you see, these are components of your Android app. Let's say you have an image view, you have a text view, you have a button, you have several other things. Okay? So here in this case, I have two components like on the screen here, which are same. So this component and this component are the same on both the activities, Rest of the things are changing, right? So in this case, you get to know that, okay, this is a fragment that is used. Like here, you have in 1, 2, 3, 5 and 6 screen. In the first, second, third, fifth and sixth screen, you see that for this portion is common, rest everything is changing. That's stagnant. Similarly, in your WhatsApp that you have, your messages, status and your contact, your calls, sorry, messages, status and your calls. So that top navigation menu is constant, and then when you swipe through it, when you slide through it, that changes, but the top portion remains same. So that is how you know that this is the fragment that is used. However, when we talk about an activity, so here you see this activity has something, this activity has different components. So now you know that yes, here an activity is used because all the components are changed, which you can see here. If I'm on this page, if I click on the profile, but if I click on the messages button, let's say, then this page opens up. So you see there's nothing common between these pages. So this is how you know that yes, an activity has been changed. So here you can see how we have reused our UI components. You see this is different, this is different, this is the same, and similarly here. So now this is one difference between fragment versus activity, and the other is that an activity can exist as a whole, like the implementations that we just had. So you saw that yes, activity can exist independently, but in case of a fragment, it needs an activity to exist. You cannot just create a fragment and present it or view it or somehow. No, you need an activity, and on that itself, you can show your fragments. Next comes the fragment life cycle. It's not very important to know about it, but yes, it is important to know about it, like just a brief about it, because all these methods that we have in here, these fragment callbacks or the methods that we have in here, you will be using them subsequently as you are working with your fragments whenever you're creating your applications. And if you're creating good applications, you will be using fragments. So you need to know just a brief idea about what these functions do. And today itself, when we will be implementing fragments, we won't use every function of it because we aren't making a full-fledged application. We're just having a brief implementation that, okay, this is a fragment, that's how it works. Okay, cool. So we'll not use all the functions, but just a brief knowledge about it. So a life cycle, fragment life cycle, from how it's born to how it's dead or how it's dying. So the life cycle basically starts from here to here, everywhere that you see over the web or when you are studying about it. But actually, the life cycle starts from on attach and ends before on detach. So basically, let's say this is your activity and this is your fragment. So your life cycle, the fragment life cycle will start only after your fragment is attached to your activity. And it will end only after your fragment is detached from the activity. So everything from here to here is between on attached to on detached. So on attached, the fragment is attached to the activity, and on detached, the fragment is detached from the activity. So the first function is, or the first callback is on create. So on create, the name is signifying that it is initializing the fragment. The fragment is being born or is being initialized. Next is create view. So this is basically, it creates and returns view hierarchy. So what is happening here is on create, when you're creating a fragment here, basically वो तब सिर्फ Java file बना रहा है. So your fragment basically works similarly to your activity, but your fragment and activity work the same. Like both of them have their XML, both of them have their Java, their front end and back end. It's just fragment can't exist independently. Baki, they're mostly the same, Okay. So when you're using the function on create, so at that time only your Java file is being created. But when you have created the function on create view, at that time your XML file and your Java file get attached together. Like you're just combining them together. Okay. On activity created is invoked after the completion. So like it shows that yes, your fragment is being created. So basically the first three steps on create view and activity created, these three happen mostly simultaneously within milliseconds. So you like it just happens together or more almost together. Then you have on start is when your fragment becomes visible. Now you might say that on start should happen with on create. Key, if I'm creating a fragment, it should be visible. But no, let me give you an example of your WhatsApp. When you open your WhatsApp, the first page that you see is your chats, not your calls or your status. Only when you swipe right or when you click on it, then only the fragment for your status or your call comes up. So they already exist. They have been created, but they are not visible yet to you, because otherwise all the fragments would be visible one on top of the other. And we don't want that. We just want one particular thing to be visible, and only when called, the other fragment should be visible. So that is how your on start is working. So on start, when we declare that yes, now I want it to be called, maybe when something is clicked or when something is swiped or when something is entered, only then this should be visible. So that's how your on start works. Then is on resume. So on resume and on pause, these both work together. Let's say if you are on particular activity and let's say in some applications, when you're on a particular activity, when you click on exit, so a dialog box opens up like, are you sure you want to exit? And then there's an option exit and cancel. So at that time, the background, like this page pe wo khula tha, the background activity that gets blurred out. That is when the fragment or that activity is on pause, because it is not visible at that time. Like it is visible, it is being shown to you, but us time pe it is not interactive. So that time it is on pause. And suppose if you click on the dialog box like cancel, so dialog box disappears and the activity comes up in front of you again. So that's how it becomes interactive again. Okay. Then you have on stop. So when you, like, suppose you move out of that particular fragment, so that that fragment becomes no longer visible, and that's on stop function. Then you have destroy view and destroy. So similarly, like we had create view and create, that pehle we had the Java file, then we had the XML related attached to it. Then similarly on destroy view, the files get separated, and on destroy, the Java file also gets destroyed. And finally on detach, your fragment gets detached from your activity. So that's the basic life cycle, sorry, not lifestyle, the basic life cycle of how your fragment is basically working. Okay. So now we can go ahead for the demonstration for how fragments work. Okay. Should I show it here only? Okay, I'll show it here itself. And if you want, you can create another application. You can just click here and make a new project. Or if you want, you can have it here only. It's second. I have a doubt here on my WhatsApp. A problem with new project. Okay. I guess this is very simple. Like if you just go here, like abhi this application is open in front of me. Like this project is open in front of me. But if you just go here on new and click on new project, then also you can open up a new project. Otherwise, also if you start your Android Studio, then also it opens up. And you just have to go here and choose the type of activity that you want. So I am taking an empty activity in this case. Generally, when you are new, you use empty activity itself. You just have to give it a name here, like whatever application you want to name it. Let's say I'm giving it sample 2, authentic. I'll make it a new application. Then you have sample 2. This is your package name. So like in a website, it's like .com. If the .com is here in first, like I guess this was told in the first session, but anyways, it's okay. So this is your saving location, that where your project should be saved. Then this is your language, Java and Kotlin. You're working with Java, and then this is your API, like what level you are using. So you can go with 21 or any which one you want, and then just click on finish, and a new project opens up. So I hope this solves your doubt. And if it's still not clear, you can again text me. That's okay. So okay, I'll show the fragment here itself on the new activity. Okay, so maybe you can create multiple fragments if you want. I'll just be creating 2 fragments. Okay, so similarly, how we created a new activity, we'll just create a new fragment. So again, go to layout, new fragment. It's just below your activity. Again, you have multiple options for fragment, the same how you had it for activity. So I'm going to take blank fragment, and maybe I'll just name it frag1. Okay, and again click on layout, new fragment, and you can rename it. I'll make it, let's say, frag2. Okay, So I have two fragments written. Don't worry about this code that is visible. That's okay. We don't even need it right now. Okay, so I have frag1. So you see XML for frag1 created, Java file for frag1 created, and XML for frag2 and Java for frag2. Similarly, like you have it for a activity. So it's mostly the same. Abhi, we don't want this much in our Java. We don't need this much. So just be careful how you're removing it. Let this public class be there. Remove all this. Let onCreate function be there and let onCreateView function be there. So if you remember, I just discussed in the PPT like onCreateView what we are doing. So ये वही चीज है, ठीक है? I'll remove this comment and these parameters also we have erased. So we'll just remove this. Okay, so we just have these two basic functions. Since I told you, we're just discussing about the basic fundamental. ठीक है, fragment होता क्या है. So we'll talk about only these two functions here. We're not going to depth about it. All the other functions. So you have onCreate and onCreateView, the two functions that we discussed. And similarly here also I'll remove all this. Okay, so these are the two Java files for both of my fragments, and these are the two XML files for both of my fragments. So I'll change the text here. Maybe I'll just write down. Wait, I'm going to split. Maybe I'll just write down here that this is frag1, okay, and this is frag2. Okay, so I have frag1 and frag2 created. Maybe I'll give it a background color so that you can see it clearly. Again, this color coding one. So I'll give it a different color, green. Very weird colors, loud colors, but it's okay. Okay, so I have taken up two colors out here. I have created two fragments out here. Sorry. Now I'll also give it an ID because I have to basically identify कि हाँ ये वाला fragment ये है, like everything needs to have an ID, right? So I'll just give it an ID here. Maybe this is frag1. Okay, and here also I'll give it an ID. ID frag2. Okay, so both the IDs are created, both the UIs are ready. In this fragment, you can have your buttons, you can have your image view, you can have your toggle buttons, switch, anything you want to put. Like in Instagram, you have your navigation menu, so you can make a navigation menu out of your fragments or anything. But abhi ke liye I'm just having a plain text view with the color. Okay. Similarly, here also you can have anything you want. Okay. Now we'll go to our main activity because I want कि मेरे main activity के ऊपर I want both of these fragments to come, right? So I want both of these fragments to have. I want my main activity to have both of these fragments. So here I'm going to write on the XML here. I'll just remove this text view from here and maybe have a linear layout for the simplicity. Cool. So this is my linear layout and I'll set its orientation and maybe horizontal. Okay. Now I have to declare my fragment. So I'm having my fragment and let's say the width is and height maybe can be match parent. Weight is 1. Now what I'll explain what is weight, like how weight is used here. Then I have to give the ID. ये कौन सी ID हम use कर रहे हैं? So this is frag1. What is frag1? This ID. ये वाला. This one. ठीक है? So this is frag1. Then I need to give it a name. What is the name? name is here. जो यहाँ पे दिखे हुए, the context here. This is the name. So here you will automatically have your options. Frag 1 or frag 2. This is frag 1. So I'm declaring it to frag 1. Okay, so I have the width, I have the height, I have the name, I have the ID, and yeah, this is ready. Similarly, I'll create it for the second fragment. So here I have frag 2, and I'll make this as frag 2. Okay, so both of the fragments are ready here. Okay, now does anyone have any doubts still here, like all that I have written?
No, it's okay.
Okay, cool. Okay, I'm getting a few doubts. Isliye I'm a little slow. I'm having a few doubts on my WhatsApp. It's second. Uh, where have I written this? Can you please be precise? This number, your name is not written here. This 890, this the last may have phone number. Can you please be a little precise? Like where have I written this, or where did you read this? Where? अच्छा, this okay, ठीक है. ये on create and on create viewer, like I just explained in that life cycle. So this is like you don't have to be bothered about this right now because we're not doing anything to our fragments, right? We're not using our fragments out in here. We aren't using them in anything. These are just fragments created, and we're just putting them here in our main activity. So there's not an issue in here. Anything else? Yeah, I'm telling about this weight. I'm telling about this weight. So basically, weight is key. How much space will it occupy? Like the ratio of the weight. Like if it is 1:1, then both of the, like it's not just for fragment, it's for any other component that you use, maybe for an image view also. If you're having multiple images on your screen, and so how much ratio should it occupy? Let's say 1:1. Then if you make it 2:2, sorry, 2:3, like this will occupy 2/3 of your screen. This will occupy some portion of this, let's say 33%, will occupy 66%. So that's how it goes. That's the weight. Anything else? Okay, color code. ठीक है. Color code is not a very big thing. If you have worked with the UI for websites or applications or some things like that, then color code is a very simple thing. I'll explain it again. Basically, it works on RGB. You see red, green, and blue. Since all these three are the primary colors, and all the colors that you see are made from these colors by adjusting them. Okay, we adjust them. Let's say if I make it 100, so the color changes here. If I make this 0, the color changes here. So this is how you're using it. And hexadecimal is how we represent this. Basically, so we start with, let's say 000. This is white. This should be, this is black, you see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. This is black, and if I make this all F, this becomes here white. So basically, hexadecimal number system, if you've read about it, it goes from 0 to 9 and then A to F. Okay, 0 to 9, then A, B, C, D, E, F. So 0 is the smallest one, F is the largest number you can see in hexadecimal. So that's how it works. So you will just keep on adjusting it here. If you put E, you put B, you put B here, you put 1 here. So that's how you're changing your red, green, blue ratio. And that's how you're making up different colors. So it was just related to this. And that's how you put in colors in your Android apps, in your UI for Android apps, or your websites, or associated things. Anything else? Uh, Yeah, fragment contains both you have, that is the reason it's written, right? You don't have any confusion in that case कि fragment कौन सा होगा, activity कौन सा होगा. You can have same names for your activity and fragment. उसमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. You'll always have it mentioned कि fragment. Like I just gave it a name frag1, right? Automatically the name came as fragment frag1, fragment frag2. So even if you create an activity with the name of frag1, it will name it as activity frag1. So you will have a differentiator in between. So that's not an issue. And you have both, both your fragments and your activities, both have your Java and your XML. Okay, cool. I guess there is no other doubt. If you still have it, you can just send it to me. That's okay. Or the mediums that have been sent to you by the organizers, by the Android Club, you can just share in your doubts there. That's okay. So this is how basically you're creating your fragments out here. Okay. Okay. Now coming back to here. I guess there's an issue out here. Acha, that's the thing. Yeah, the one who asked me for how to create a new application, you might, Tabhi I didn't change it in priorly itself. I wanted to show this out because you might be facing the same issue here. You might be getting this error. I'll just put it again. Here, you might be getting this error. Like some of the Android Studio might have this if you haven't updated your SDK. So what will happen is that in this case, you don't have to worry. You just have to go here to your model level Gradle. Here, you see compile SDK and target SDK. इसको बस you have to change to 33 because that's the number they'll ask you to do it. Otherwise, if it's another number, because once it's updated, you will have some different numbers out here. So you can just change it. That's it. Nothing else. So once you change it, just click on sync now. It will sync, and it's fine. Okay. Now we come to demonstration for fragment. It's done. Next, we come to sending and receiving messages. So basically, when we are sending and receiving messages, so this is done using two ways. One is that you use the default messaging application that there's in your phones, like normal SMS messaging app, not any WhatsApp or something, your normal text message app, जो होता है phone में. Either we use that, or we create a different application and we make that as your default app, or we use that application to send or receive messages. Okay. So if we are using the built-in SMS application, we use some of this code, and if we are using another application that we create on our own, we make an API and make it. So for now, since we are talking about just SMS, so we'll be using the built-in SMS application because we're talking about SMS, not a chat application. If we would have been talking about a chat application, or maybe if Android Club organizes some other webinars wherein you learn about a chatting application, then maybe you can create your own apps and have your messages sent across them. But right now, since it's about SMS receiving and sending, we'll be using the built-in SMS application that there's in your phone already. So when we're talking about sending and receiving messages and calling feature, that we'll be learning about right now after this. So both of these features use something called as broadcast. So when I make a call, or when I send a messages, or when I receive a call or a message, so that is done using a broadcast. So a broadcast, first of all, what is a broadcast? Okay, so broadcast, as you can see on the screen, it is a message. It's a kind of a message that is sent by the system or other applications to notify the interested components about system events or changes, like when the device starts up, when the battery level changes, when a phone call is received, when a text message is received, or when the network connectivity changes. So this is already present in your phone. Suppose if I am starting my phone, so the broadcast will go to all the applications that the Android, like if suppose you restart your phone, or if you switch on your phone after switching it off, then also you can't just directly start operating with your applications. It takes a moment. You can see it on your screen that the Android is starting, or messages are loading or something like that. So that's a broadcast which goes to all of your applications that yes, the phone is now restarted, or the phone is switched on, that yes, all the functions can now operate, all the applications can now work. So this is how broadcast works. And when the battery level changes, I told you in intent wala part, that when the battery level changes, many of your applications are notified that the battery level is low, the phone might stop working, or the phone might discharge, or something like that. Then when a phone call is received, or when a text message is received, so what happens is that when I make a phone call, it goes on the universal broadcast. कि ठीक है, this is my number, so and so, and I'm calling so and so person. So when I'm making a phone call, it goes on to the universal broadcast, and then suppose this phone is receiving the call, so the universal broadcast here, the broadcast receiver, we'll come to that. The broadcast receiver will get the message and will fetch the call and will show here that the name will pop up that yes, this person is calling you. You can accept it, decline it, or the functions. Similarly for messages, if a message comes up, so the phone pops up a message that so and so person has sent you a text message. So that's how your broadcast basically works. So now we'll talk about universal broadcast. Like it's the same thing, broadcast and universal broadcast. So basically, universal broadcast is for your messages and calls that I just explained. So now you can make it. You can call through your either built-in your default application, that the phone application that you have, or Truecaller. Let's say some of you might have put up Truecaller as a default calling application or your messaging application. So any call that you make, any call you receive, any message you send or receive is done through Truecaller. So you set Truecaller as a universal broadcaster. My phone has the Truecaller on my phone has been given the permission. It can access all the broadcasting of my phone. It can handle all the calling and messaging functions, maybe sending, receiving, both of them, or any third party application that you have, like any other application than Truecaller. If you set it, so that will operate as your broadcaster. So messages and calls that are broadcasted are sent or received by the default application if you have a normal or your Truecaller or any other application. So now what we're going to do is we will use the built-in SMS one part of our application of our phone, and we will receive a message and then we'll send a message, a text message, SMS. So now comes up logging the message and saving the message. कि अब message मुझे आया है तो मुझे वो दिखना चाहिए, right? I should see that who has sent it and from which number, like कहाँ से आया है and किसका क्या message है. So I should see the sender and the message also. So that is how you log the message, that okay, I am logging up the messages, that okay, this is the message, this is the message, this is the message. So this I can do in one way. Maybe I can create a recycler view. If you don't know what's a recycler view, maybe I can make a list of all my messages, like you have it in your WhatsApp. You know, if when you open your WhatsApp, you get a list of all your messages, like ABC person has sent this, someone has sent this, someone has sent this. You have a list of all that. You can consider that to be a recycler view for now. So I have that, and line by line it shows me all the messages that are sent to me with the user's name, like the sender's name, who is the sender. So one way is that right now we won't be making a chat application something. We'll just be using the SMS built-in function. Plus we'll be using the logcat. Logcat is jahan pe whatever functions you, whatever interactions you're having with your application, that is visible. So we'll just see कि message आ रहा है तो क्या आ रहा है, कहाँ से आ रहा है in our logcat. You'll see it when we do implement it. And next comes storing the messages. So when you are using such feature, or when you are creating a chat application, when you're using any message or any function to send or receive your messages, you can save your messages. You can store your messages in three ways: either on your internal database, or your external database, or an online server. So online, like internal database is not very much useful. It's like not at all useful, because let's say internal database में क्या होगा कि maybe I am using an application, I send a message to someone. If I change my device, if I switch on to some other device, I cannot see the previous messages exchanged because वो उसी device पे locally saved थे. Then you have your external database, wherein you have using an external database कि ठीक है, this is my database. इसमें अगर मैं डिवाइस को वापस इसमें कनेक्ट कर लूँ, लेट्स से फॉर एग्जाम्पल मेमोरी कार्ड, ठीक है, इसमें हम सेविंग की हाँ इसमें सारे मैसेजेस स्टोर्ड है, इफ आई एम चेंजिंग माई डिवाइसेस तो आप आके दिखा दो कि हाँ इसमें ये मैसेज है, इसमें ये मैसेज है, इसमें ये मैसेज है. So your external database works that way. Then you have your online servers wherein you save via APIs. So that is one of the widely used ones and the most beneficial ones, because what happens in here is that every user is given an ID, a particular ID. So across the world, any device that you use, if you log in with your particular ID, you can see your messages sent earlier, your message history and everything. So that's how you connect it to your WhatsApp. You given your number because that number is used as your ID. In Instagram, you give your username like your email ID or your phone number. So whenever you look, like if I have one phone right now, if I'm sending messages, if I change my phone, if I again log in with my that credentials, all my messages are coming up again. So that's how we use the online service. So these three are the ways of how we store the messages and log the messages. So we'll be logging them in our logcat. And then we read about broadcast receiver. Since we are receiving the messages first, so we'll see about broadcast receiver. Now, broadcast receiver is a component of the Android operating system that listens for system-wide broadcast event. System-wide broadcast event, again, सब कुछ जो भी broadcast होता है, your phone is restarted, your battery level is low, anything. So broadcast receiver is for that. A broadcast receiver in an Android component that is registered to receive specific types of intent messages. Once registered, the receiver is notified whenever the intent that matches its filter is broadcast. So this is something we understand better when we implement it, because all that's written when we type it actually, when we actually implement it, तब अच्छे से समझ आएगा. So filter broadcast, when we type it down, I'll show you what is filter, how are we filtering, what is intent used in this case. So in simple terms, a broadcast receiver is a tool that allows Android app to receive system-wide messages, which can trigger an app to perform an action with response. Okay? For example, a messaging app could register a broadcast receiver to be notified whenever a new text message arrives and then display a notification to the user. कि जब भी मैंने अपने फोन पे ब्रॉडकास्ट रिसीवर सेट कर दिया है कि जब भी मुझे इस नंबर पे कोई मैसेज आएगा तो मेरा ब्रॉडकास्ट रिसीवर यहाँ पे एक्टिवेट हो जाएगा कि यस देयर इज अ मैसेज दैट्स रिसीव्ड एंड देन दैट इज डिस्प्लेड टू मी. ठीक है. एंड देन वी हैव द कॉलिंग फीचर. So a calling feature, it's very simple. It's very simple as compared to your messaging feature. It's very short code, very precise code, and very simple. So a calling app allows users to receive or place audio or video calls on their device, and calling apps use their own interface, user interface for the calls instead of using the default phone app interface. So since in the messaging part we are using the built-in SMS function, so here we'll just create a simple calling app. ठीक है, we'll just type in the phone number कि मुझे इस number पे call करना है and a button to call. That's it. So we'll be using them. So now let's demonstrate SMS and the calling feature. ठीक है. So okay, yeah. I forgot to show this. So these are the two fragments that we created, if you remember, before the break. Here. So this was fragment 1. This was fragment 2. I'll remove it once. This was your fragment 1. Okay? This was your fragment 2. And in the main activity, what did I do was I made a linear layout, जिसमें I showed कि horizontally दोनों align होने चाहिए. So if I run it now, so you see fragment 1 and 2. So I don't remember who was asking about what is weight. So this is weight. You see 1:1 का ratio. I told you इसको ratio की तरह समझो. So 1:1 का ratio is कि both are there on my screen with the same ratio. If I make it, let's say 2. So you see the size has increased. So अब ये 2/3 of the screen occupy कर रहा है. This is occupying just 1/3 of it. So this is just to justify कि how much space of the screen should one component occupy. That's it. There's no other meaning. Even in images, you can use this image view if you're having multiple images. So you can have the this image should occupy 3/4 of my view. This page should occupy 1/4 of my view. So ऐसे करके you can just justify the weight of your component. That's it. इसमें और कुछ नहीं है. So this is how you're working with your fragments. Now suppose if in my other activity I want fragment 2 to be again called. तो मुझे कुछ नहीं करना है. My fragment 2 is already created here. Here my fragment 2 is already created. I don't have to do anything else in it. Suppose in this activity, let's say in some other activity, I have to use fragment 2 again. So I just have to copy this much code and paste it there. I don't have to make the entire application again and an activity again. So that's how fragments help us to reuse our UI components. कि आपको बार-बार कोड नहीं करना, बस हल्का सा उसको कॉपी पेस्ट करके आपको बस यूज करते रहना. You don't have to rerun it again and again. That's it. So this was all about your fragments. Now we can go with your messaging and calling feature. I'll again create a new project. That's okay. So the one who asked me about creating a new project, I hope you are clear with this. I'm again doing it if you see it. Let's say I'm naming it calling business. So do you have any doubts still here? If you have, you can just again text me if you want or raise up a doubt here. I guess they're none. Okay, no, I received something on WhatsApp. The fragment one. Okay, second. Where was the fragment? Sample two. What is the doubt? See, I told you while I was creating this, there's nothing to be confused about. The example that I gave you was of Instagram, जिसमें I told you कि हमने bottom navigation menu को as a fragment बना रखा है. इसमें भी आप डाल सकते हो. You can have your buttons, you can have your image view, you can have anything you want. I just wanted to show कि concept क्या होता है fragment का, so I made it. In this also you can create around 10 fragments. You can make 10 more fragments and you can add them in a similar way. There's not an issue. If you want to add images to your fragment, you can do that. Fragment is just like your activity. They're pretty much same, pretty much same. Anything else? No, we don't need any permissions for fragments or क्या बोलते हैं activities के लिए. We don't need any such permissions. It just manifest में आपका यहाँ पे सारा listed होता ही है, तो permission की इसमें कोई जरूरत नहीं है. Permission we need now when we are talking about your SMS and your calling ones, when we are broadcasting it. So उसके लिए we need permissions and the intent filter. So I'll be discussing about it abhi. Anything else related to fragments and intents, you can just ask. Then I'll go to demonstration for this. Okay, cool. Okay. So now let's come to the SMS and calling feature. Okay. Pehle we'll work upon receiving a message. Then we'll come to sending a message. Okay. So first of all, like I'm starting with a brand new project. So you can see there's just the main activity here. Now here you need to right click on Java. First we'll create a new class. So right click on Java, click on new, come down to Java class. Okay. Right click on Java, new, and come down to Java class. Okay, sorry. New. This has to go to the Java. This won't be visible to you. I guess आपको नहीं आना चाहिए. Name. Okay. So okay, this dialog box will open up directly for you, not the earlier one. Okay. So for this new Java class, so what name do you have to give? You can decide. Like this is just a Java class that we're creating, nothing else, just a class. So I'm just writing the name as, let's say, SMS receiver. Okay. Just click on enter, and it will open this for you. And I'll just wait for a second till you all do this. You want me to repeat? ठीक है. देखो मैंने सिर्फ राइट क्लिक किया जावा पे. I went to new and I went down to Java class. If you this option might come up to you sometimes. You don't need to worry. जो भी पहला ऑप्शन दिख रहा है उसी पे आपको ओके कर देना, इसी वाले पे. Just click on OK. This will open up. Here you can create interface. This is used for creating new classes or interface or anything like that. But अभी हमें सिर्फ class चाहिए. Just write down SMS receiver, the name that I've given here, and click on enter. So it will create a new class for you. Anything else? ठीक है, I guess we are good to go. ठीक है, तो अब this is a class called SMS receiver, जिसके अंदर हम लोग बताएंगे कि हमें रिसीव करना है कॉल, क्या करना है, सॉरी मैसेज रिसीव करना है, क्या करना है, वो हम इसमें बताएंगे. So now this has to extend something. Extend as in, I'll tell you, extends. So like you have inheritance. तो inheritance में क्या होता है कि one class extends something, one class inherits something. तो broadcast receiver is already a class जिसका हमने ये सब class बनाई है SMS receiver, जो कि उसको extend कर रही है. It is inheriting it. Okay, so we are actually inheriting the components from broadcast receiver into our SMS receiver class. So once you write this, it might show you a red line like this because we don't have the default parameters here. Just click on Alt Enter. You get implement methods. Click on it. You get this dialog box. I'll show it again. Wait. I'm repeating it again. Once you write extends broadcast receiver, import की line अपने आप ऊपर आएगी. Then you have this error line here. That's because हमने default parameter इसके अंदर अभी तक नहीं दिया, implement नहीं किया हमने methods. So for that, you need to just go over on this and press Alt Enter. It will give you a menu like this. इसमें से हमें सिर्फ implement methods चाहिए. Click on it, and वो बता देगा कि कौन सा हमें method चाहिए. Once you click on this, press OK. तो अपने आप उसने हमको एक function create करके देगी. That's a default function that we needed, which is on receive. Okay, I hope that's clear. Okay, so now you observe that we have intent written here again. Intent has again come into play. Now, why is intent here? So, whatever data that we have to store, like जब भी कोई message आ रहा है हमारे पास, whenever we're receiving a message, so either we store it internally or externally or on an online server, any which way that we want. So, in either of the case, we have to fetch the data, right? तो जो भी मैसेज का कंटेंट है, द कंटेंट इन दैट मैसेज, द बॉडी ऑफ द मैसेज, वी हैव टू फेच इट, वी हैव टू रीड इट, वी हैव टू स्टोर इट. सो दैट इज डन बाय योर इंटेंट डज दैट. ठीक है, सो नाउ I'm writing. पहले I'm writing a line, then I'll explain it to you. Bundle is equal to so bundle class का नाम है and bundle is an object and then intent dot get extras. So what I'm doing is कि intent का get extra. If you remember in this one, where did we do it? Sample. Where was it? If you remember, we had done it. I told you get extras, get type, get action. Set action. We wrote set action. We wrote set extras. So whenever we are passing content, I told you earlier in the intent function when we were making intent. So set extra में हम क्या कर रहे थे? We were telling कि हाँ इस message को share करना. This is the content that has to be shared, right? We were if we have to put a mail ID कि इस mail पे जाना है तो we write set extra में वो mail ID. तो यहाँ पे हम गेट कर रहे हैं, सेट की जगह पे जस्ट गेटिंग दैट व्हाट इज द टेक्स्ट दैट हैज कम अप टू अस. वेयर डिड दैट गो? हाँ ये था, ठीक है. सो सेट पुट एक्स्ट्रा, राइट? सो इन पुट एक्स्ट्रा वी हैड रिटन टेक्स्ट. यहाँ दिस टेक्स्ट हैड टू गो, दैट वाज रिटन हियर, दिस लेट फैशन रन डी. सो वी हैड सेंट की इंटेंट के अंदर कौन सा मैसेज जाना है, क्या कंटेंट जाना है. सो टेक्स्ट कंटेंट हैड टू गो, दैट वाज स्टोर्ड इन दिस. So similarly here, what we have is कि हमें जो extra message गया हुआ था, जो message बाहर से आया, we have to get the content from it. So that is stored in your object of bundle. So what is bundle? It is basically your container that is used for passing, what do we say, data. Like it is used for basically transferring data in simple terms. कि वो data transfer करता है between different components of your application, जैसे कि between activities or between your fragments like that. And it is it basically works with your key value pairs. And I'll explain it further when we come to that, with your key and value pairs. So that can be passed on from different components. So this is how it allows data. Like how does it allow data transfer? Using key value pairs. It does data transfer using key value pairs. How? I'll explain it. ठीक है? इसके बाद we write object. I'm creating an array. Object bundle dot get PDUs. Yeah, I'll explain. Just write this line and then I'll explain this. And you can't change this PDUs. This is a key value. Okay. So I hope you've written this much. So I've explained the first line, what it means, bundle. Next is object, SMS object bundle this. So इसका मतलब क्या है? पहले तो let's understand PDUs. What is PDUs? PDUs is actually a full form, like PDUs. It is actually this. Multiple PDU is called PDUs. So PDU होता क्या है? PDU is basically your protocol data unit. ठीक है? तो protocol data unit क्या होता है? Like whenever any information is received or exchanged using your network, whenever you are sending or receiving any information over a network, so it is in the form of units. It is in the form of units. Like एक unit information वहां जा रही है, कुछ unit में मतलब information आ जा रही है, exchange हो रही है. So those units are called PDUs, protocol data units. So messages जो हमारे पास यहाँ पे receive हो रहे हैं, they are in the form of you can say array of objects here. तभी I've written array of objects. So like object array जिसका नाम है SMS object. ठीक है? There we have SMS that are being received are in the form of array of objects जिसका हमने नाम दे रखा है SMS object. Here I've written this. This is how you declare an object. Bundle dot get PDUs. So bundle क्या है? वही जो हमने मैसेज लिया है, तो हमें मैसेज का क्या चाहिए? PDU चाहिए कि हमें वो की चाहिए. तो PDUs is here a key. Why a key? Because bundle uses key value pairs to work. ठीक है? तो हम लोग बेसिकली क्या कर रहे हैं? हम लोग bundle नाम का एक क्लास होती है. bundle नाम की क्लास क्या करती है? बेसिकली a container that is used for passing data from one component to the other. ठीक है? उसकी हमने ऑब्जेक्ट बनाई. In that object we have put कि जो भी इंटेंट के अंदर से, इंटेंट किस लिए यूज हुआ? जो भी मैसेज आया उसको फेच करने के लिए. आई टोल्ड यू. ठीक है? जो भी मैसेज आया उसको फेच करने के लिए उसका हमने गेट एक्स्ट्रा लिया, वो हमने बंडल के अंदर डाल दिया. ओके. अब वो बंडल का हमें पीडीयू चाहिए, हमें उसका पीडीयू चाहिए, दैट इज प्रोटोकॉल डेटा यूनिट चाहिए. वो हमने स्टोर करा इन व्हाट? इन योर एरे. एरे ऑफ व्हाट? एरे ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट्स. एरे ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट्स क्यों? क्योंकि जो भी मैसेज रिसीव होता है it comes in the form of array of objects or array of bytes. It's the same thing. Array of objects or byte array or array of bytes. तो वो उसके फॉर्म में आता है. Now I need a for loop. You can have a for loop or you can have a for each loop. So I'm just having here object. Oh, let's say what should I name it? Let's say just obj. ठीक है? Obj SMS object. SMS. So when we are receiving a message, we use SMS message. SMS message is equal to. I'll write it down and then explain. You can just type it down till then. String हमें जो phone number है. Okay. I'll explain this further. Okay. So first I'll explain this till here. So I've made a for loop. Now this might be possible that I have received a single message or multiple messages. So इसलिए I've written PDUs there. ठीक है? इसलिए I've made an array there because there can be multiple messages. ठीक है? So for object obj, if you have experienced in coding, if you know what this means, and if you don't know, that's okay. This is basically a for loop. जो हम for loop normally भी initialize करते हैं. For I anything I is equal to 0, I is less than n, I is I plus plus, है ना? So that's how we iterate over each object of your array or each object of an array, how do you iterate using a for loop? This is a similar case but in simpler terms. तो हमने object obj ले लिया, एक नया object, नई the same class that we use here, object class का ही नया object बनाया obj, ठीक है, and we are iterating it over SMS object. What is SMS object? SMS object is the name of this array. तो हर array के element को हम लोग इसमें store कर रहे हैं, तो basically हम उसको iterate ही कर रहे हैं. It's just iteration way. You can also use for int I is equal to 0 वाला part. That's okay. ठीक है. Then we have SMS message is equal to SMS message dot create from PDU. So basically क्या होता है कि the PDUs now we in the smartphones that we use these days, उसमें we just get the information like who sent the message and what is the message and maybe when is it delivered to us, right? In your text messages when you get it. But in earlier times, PDUs used to help us. PDUs contain a lot of information, like कहाँ से message आया है, who sent it, when did he send it, from which call center did it, like which telecom provider was it sent, where did it go to, how was it received. Like it contained a lot of information. I'll show you. See, if I just write on message dot, so you see we get display originate address, email body, email from. So this is all the type of information that you could get from a PDU. But in this case we just want कि हमें वो message में दिखा दे कि कहाँ से आया और क्या message है, right? Just the phone number of the person and what the message actually is. We just want that much information. So in that case, I'm making a string called phone number or the mobile number, whatever you want to name it. And what do I want in this? Get originating address. Originating address क्या है कि जहां से मैसेज आया मेरे को सिर्फ उतना पार्ट चाहिए, मेरे को कुछ उससे रिलेशन नहीं कि किसने किधर से कैसे भेजा, क्यों भेजा, क्या भेजा, नहीं चाहिए. I just want कि कहां से आया and what is the message. So I'm writing string. Let me just write my message is equal to message dot get display message body. ये क्या है? Actually message का जो content है, message body. That's it. I am just concerned with these two things. Now you can store these messages if you want. You can show these messages if you want. Till now we have just received the message content, stored it into two things. कि mobile number में mobile आ जाए, message में message आ जाए. Now I want to display it. So I can either display it using my main activity, जिसमें I create a text box, I can make a button, and when I click on the button, the message shows up to me कि ठीक है, this was the message. Or I can just make it my normal messaging कि हाँ ठीक है, जैसे phone में normal text message आता है, I'm using that. So for right now, I'm just making it in a log. Log क्या होता है? I'll show you. Let me just write it first. Then I have my phone number, so I'm having mobile, or let's say phone number. Okay, so I'll show you how it's done. Let me just run it. Run करने से पहले. So this is how I have created my SMS receiver. Now इतने text से, इतने code से हमारा message receive हो जाएगा. But वो कैसे होगा? हमें पहले इसके लिए broadcast, हमें like we have to tell our application that yes, we have to tell our Android app that yes, something that I've created, this application that I have created is having a broadcast receiver. And whenever a message is coming up to my number, then my broadcast should act to it and receive that message and show it to me. So I need to give that information to my Android OS that yes, my Android application is capable of receiving messages. अभी तक we just made it कि हाँ ठीक है ऐसे ऐसे कर लेना when the message comes, but we haven't told कि yes, if something comes up, how do you have to do it? How do you receive the messages? अभी इसमें receiving का नहीं आया. So that is done using your manifest, wherein you are giving permissions to your Android app. So for that, come here to manifest and double click on it. This will open manifest.xml. So इसके अंदर it contains all of your information. I hope Sohela taught about this to you. It has your app's icon, your app's name, and related things to it. All the activities that you create in your application. So activity by activity it comes up. Like in our application, we just have one activity, that's activity main, so it just has activity main. Otherwise, if you make many activities, वो सब यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ आएगा. ठीक है? So here I need to give my app a permission to receive message. So I'll write here, just come down from message from manifest bracket, come out of it, and above your application, just write uses permission. Now see, there's so many permissions. Like even if you have installed applications on your phone, it asks for permission, right? Can it access your camera? Can it access your location? So similarly, वैसे ही हमें यहाँ पे भी we have a lot of permissions out here. You see the number of permissions. So in this case, I just want it to receive a message. So I'm using receive SMS. And one more, read SMS. कि SMS receive तो कर ले, ठीक है, but read भी तो करना है उसको. I need to see कि message क्या है. So I'm receiving a message plus I am reading a message. I need both the permissions. It just can't receive the message and sit alone. I have to read it as well. So I need both these permissions. Okay. Now we need to create an intent filter for this. I'll tell you why is that required. Sorry. So come down here in your manifest itself. Under your activity, like where this all the activities end up. If you are using the same, if you are jitna bhi maine abhi tak, like all the features I've taught you, if you have created them all in the same application, you might have a lot of activities listed here. But if you've created different applications like I have done, then you might have only one main activity here. So after all your activities end up, just come down and here write receiver, Android name, SMS receiver, permission, Android dot permission. This won't come like suggestion ki tarah in your this Android Studio. You have to copy it down one by one. Broadcast SMS exported through. I'll explain you क्या मतलब है इसका. We need an intent filter here as well. Action. The action name would be Android name would be Android dot provider dot telephony. Make sure you're copying the caps lock as well, like P is capital here. Dot SMS received. Sorry. Just copy down this one. I'll zoom it if you want. Just copy down and then I'll explain this. Just after the activity ends, you have to type it. And make sure you're writing it correctly. This permission and this name. Okay, so I hope you've written it till here. If you have any doubts still here, just let me know. Then I'll start explaining this this intent filter and receiver क्या लिखा है. So if you have any doubts, just let me know, please. And make sure you've written the permissions as well. Okay, there's a doubt. Key. Okay, so this is a doubt. I explained it already. That receive and read SMS, like why have we done both of them? What's the difference? So I told you that broadcast receiver will let you receive a message. कि ठीक है, the application knows कि fine, this app has the permission to receive a message. Okay, so it will let you receive a message. Now, how do you know what the message is? How would you read it? It does not give you the permission for that. It is just give you the permission to receive the message. So you need both these, what do we say, permissions to read and receive your messages. So इसलिए we're using both of them. Anything else? If you want, you can ask here itself in the meet, or if you can text me, it's okay. Sending की भी permission चाहिए होती है. Yes, we need a permission to send the message as well. But abhi, since we're talking about receiving, so I've just taken the permission for receiving and reading. Abhi, when we do about sending, I'll add the permission here for sending as well. Anything else?
Igwa manifest file. Just a minute.
This portion, huh? Sure.
It,
I will explain this receiver वाला part क्या है. उसके अलावा, if you have any doubt, you can ask. Sorry. Are we good to go?
just 1 minute.
Okay, okay, take it out. Have you written it?
Yeah, written, but it's showing an error.
Where is it showing an error?
This receiving part. Android
What is the
permission.
error?
Android permission broadcast SMS.
Have you typed it correctly? Like, एक बार spelling check कर लो.
Mm, सही है.
And have you taken both the permissions here?
हाँ.
Can you share your screen once? Maybe if there's something else. उसको हटाओ, @ को जो लगाया है सबसे आगे. Yeah.
और इसमें भी एक एरर था.
हाँ, ये मोबाइल के आगे इक्वल टू लगाया, इसको प्लस करो, प्लस का साइन.
किस जगह पे? लाइन
नंबर 20 में मोबाइल के आगे इक्वल टू लगा हुआ है ना, उसको प्लस करो.
20 में. हाँ.
ओके.
हाँ.
cool. So I hope this much is clear. Now about this receiver. So why is this used? My screen is visible, right?
No.
Okay, cool. So about this receiver, so basically ये receiver का like what is the use? So if you remember in the presentation that I was talking, we talked about this page here. A broadcast receiver is an Android component that is registered to receive specific types of intent messages. So you've seen intent वहाँ पे कहाँ पे कैसे use आया, ठीक है? Once registered, the receiver is notified whenever an intent that matches its filter is broadcast. So we're talking about filter here. So if you see in this one, if you have an application, if you have made the application using all the features I've taught in this single application, you might have different activities here. Okay, so you might see that only one of the activities contains this intent filter. That is your main activity. And if you've created an application just like me, so यहाँ पे है ही एक activity, उसी में intent filter है. So intent filter क्या होता है कि basically it is putting a filter to your intent. Simple terms में putting a filter to your intent, जिसमें वो बता रहा है कि उसको launch करना है, कि main activity को launch करना है. Let's say अगर मैं यहाँ पे एक और activity भी बना दूँ, I'll show you in this case. Where was it? Yeah. Suppose in let it be here. Let's say I create another activity here. You don't have to do this, just look at it. Empty activity. Let's say activity 2. Okay. Activity 2 hai. Now if you go to manifest, you will see the activity 2 has been already come up here. Exported की जगह just make it true. I'll make it true ताकि वो export हो जाए. ठीक है. So already second activity है यहाँ पे fragment main activity है. So I have this second activity or activity 2 here. Now only this portion has your intent filter, which is your main activity. Intent filter सिर्फ इसी में है, because what this intent filter is saying कि intents तो सब activities में है, but filter यहाँ पे इसलिए लगाया है क्योंकि मुझे चाहिए कि when I'm opening my application तो सिर्फ ये वाली activity launch हो सबसे पहले. If I run this one, you see only the main activity, जो भी चीज main activity में सिर्फ वही आई है, जबकि बाकी activities भी हैं but they are not being displayed unless I do something. Now if I want कि मेरी activity 2 display हो, let's say if I put a text here, I make it constraint from everywhere. So इस केस में I want कि नहीं, मुझे चाहिए कि activity 2 सबसे पहले display हो. So I'll go to my manifest and I'll take this intent filter and I'll paste it here in my activity here. और मैं यहाँ से intent filter को I'll just cut it. Okay. Now if I run it again, so you see this other activity has opened up. I guess वो आया नहीं इसमें. Yeah. So this text tree has opened up. Like not that activity has opened up, but this other activity has opened up. So this is the difference. So this is just upon your manifest thing कि intent filter के अंदर intent filter क्या कर रहा है, वो बता रहा है कि हाँ ये launch करनी है, ये launch नहीं करना है. तो whenever I'm opening my application, this should be launched. So if I take it back here into my main activity, so this would be launched. Now the main activity would be launched when I open the app. So you see the main activity is launching. So basically intent filter क्या करता है, it differentiates your intent or it differentiates your activity from one or the other. So in this case, what is my intent filter doing here? So यहाँ पे intent filter क्या कर रहा है कि हमने एक receiver call बनाया है, ठीक है. तो receiver क्या कर रहा है, it is an SMS receiver, name उसका वो है, depending upon जो हमने class यहाँ पे बनाई थी. Permission, what is the permission given to it? Broadcast SMS. So broadcast SMS क्या कर रहा है? I explained it to you. Broadcast SMS जो भी broadcast universally हो रहा है, it will capture it and it will show it to us. Now the intent filter. Intent filter basically what is it doing is that intent filter is telling that it is filtering it out. It is filtering it out that yes, this receiver call is made जिसका रोल क्या है स्पेसिफिकली, जस्ट फॉर रिसीविंग द मैसेज, दैट्स इट. दिस इज हाउ इट इज टेलिंग इट दैट इसका जो स्पेसिफिक रोल है, इट इज जस्ट टू रिसीव द मैसेजेस. So this is how it is. This intent filter is for launching it. This intent filter is for receiving the message कि ठीक है, receiver call जो हमने बनाया है, it is just receiving the messages from it. So this is how you need to set up your manifest file for just receiving the messages, nothing else to here. So बस इसको हमने बताया कि यहाँ पे हमको ये चाहिए receive and read की permissions, and यहाँ पे हमने बताया इस लाइन से producing this intent filter that this is to describe that this receiver is only for messages, nothing else. कि broadcast अगर कोई कॉल हो जाए वो हो जाए तो मुझे कॉल्स वगैरह कुछ नहीं चाहिए, कोई ब्रॉडकास्ट इंटरनली मैसेज हो रहा है मुझे वो भी नहीं चाहिए. I am just entrusted with your SMS feature, nothing else. So SMS has been received, I am interested in that, and that is only what I want. So this is your manifest file for it. So any doubts till here?
No, it's okay.
All right. I'm just waiting for the WhatsApp doubts if they come up. Okay, I guess there are no doubts till here. Okay, okay. So I'll just run this now. Again, I didn't set it actually. 33, 33, and sync. Okay. तो पहले let me just show you logcat के बारे में, and एक second, where is the logcat? So here if you see, you have a lot of options here: run, to do, problems, terminal, app inspection, logcat. So just click on logcat. There are a lot of things going on in here. You're not interested in all of it right now. But this is basically, you can consider कि yes, you can see the date right here, the time right here, कि किस time पे क्या चीज execute हो रही है, how are we integrating, how are we working with the app. So it deals with all of it. So you don't need to work on it around like right now. इसको कोई जरूरी नहीं है. What we are using logcat right now is just for your checking your message details. ठीक है? We're just using it for our messaging details. So here, just write in this. You get an option here to type something. इसको पूरा backspace करके just copy what you've written here in your log B tag and paste it here and then. Okay, that's it. Now, since in my, this is an emulator, okay, you can have your virtual device using this, you can have your pair your device using Wi-Fi or something, you can have your virtual device. But since this is an emulator, it does not have any SIM card into it, it is not connected to any telecom service. So this is not capable of sending or receiving messages because ultimately I am using SMS feature. तो वो SMS feature को use करने के लिए इसके पास SIM card या कुछ नहीं है. So when you're working on emulators like this, to check our SMS features, we go here. If you see this extended controls, click on it. So you see there are multiple features: location, display, cellular, battery, camera, phone. Go to phone, and you can just set the number, whatever number you want to put. कि from this number से message आना चाहिए. So let's say I'm typing 980, and let's say this is a message, and if I click on send message, so you see a message is popped up. तो वो मैसेज कहाँ से आया? वो मैसेज इस नंबर से आया है. I'll explain it to you again कि ये मैंने क्या किया है. Why have I used this stupid thing? This stupid thing is here because I don't have any SIM card in here. If I want to send a message, let's say to my mom, so I know कि उनका SIM card का number क्या है. I'll text it to her on her SIM card or her number. तो उनके फोन में क्योंकि SIM card facility है, so she will receive my message. But in this case, my emulator does not have any SIM card, right? तो उसको मेरे को अगर मैसेज भेजना भी है to my this application, what phone number should I dial to or what phone number should I send my message to? I have no idea, right? So उसी केस के लिए the Android Studio provides with a feature कि आप इस पे जाओ एंड यहाँ पे अलग अलग चीजें हैं, लाइक फिंगरप्रिंट है. नाउ इफ आई हैव अ फिंगरप्रिंट, आई कैन पुट अ फिंगरप्रिंट हियर, राइट? सो यू कैन यूज फिंगरप्रिंट हियर. डायरेक्शन पैड है, फोन है, कैमरा है, बैटरी है, सेलुलर है, एंड देयर आर मेनी थिंग्स. So right now we're just interested with this phone when sending a message. इसलिए we're using this extended control. This is the extended control. ठीक है? Hope that's clear. Now from, अब क्योंकि मेरे को अब इसमें मैसेज अगर सेंड करना है तो किस फोन नंबर से चाहिए मुझे मैसेज, तो वो तो आई कैन गिव एनी रैंडम मैसेज, क्योंकि मेरे को बस यहाँ पे चेक करना है कि मैसेज आ रहा है कि नहीं आ रहा है. तो इसलिए जस्ट गिव इट एनी नंबर 980 980 980. So if I change the message, let's say I just give Andro Series session 2. That's it. Send message. So you see, यहाँ पे we have Andro Series session 2. The number is also changed. So if you go back and go to the messaging app, जो direct इसका messaging application है, ये built-in SMS application है. If you click here, so you see, earlier I had the number 980 980 9809. अब मैंने इसको 0 कर दिया, तो दोनों messages यहाँ पे मेरे पास available है. Similarly, अब ये तो यहाँ पे आ गया, अब मुझे ये messages log करने थे. If you remember, you can log the messages. If I want, I can store them. If I want, I can show them. So मैंने वो log करे हैं. Okay, there is a crash here. What is the problem? 1 minute. What is the use of this information not in the menu? Okay, this I'll tell you. इसका मतलब ये है कि हमारे पास इधर someone is asking me कि why are we using only hello world here, nothing here? Because हमने main activity कुछ किया नहीं है ना. Main activity Java is also empty. Main activity XML is also empty. We haven't coded anything here. हमने बस एक receiver बनाया, उस पे implement कराया, broadcast उसको connect किया, and we have executed it in our application. इसीलिए nothing is visible here. If you want, what you can do is, in your main activity, you can call this SMS receiver and you can create a text box here. Let's say in this text box itself, you can create that whatever messages has been displayed, whatever message has been coming up, you can show it here. So that's up to you. That is how we make a chat application, right? कि message आ रहा है उसको display करना है, message जा रहा है उसको show करना है. So that's how you make your chatting application. But here we just wanted to use the default messaging app जो हमने यहाँ पे use कर लिया. So you see, so you get your messages right here. And if you want, you can. How is this using this? I'll re-explain it. See, I said that whenever you have to, whenever a broadcast request is made, either for sending or receiving any call or message, that is done via your telecom service or your SIM card. Like without any SIM card, how can you make a call? Without any SIM card, how can you send a text message? You need a SIM card for that, right? So अगर तो मैंने ये अपने phone में in my virtual device, if rather than running this on my emulator, if I would have run this on my virtual device, which has a SIM card, तब I would have sent the message directly from my default messaging app. But in this case, I am using an emulator. And I hope most of you are using an emulator. So this emulator does not have a SIM card in it right now, है ना? तो मेरे पास तो SIM card है मेरे फोन में, but मैं इसको मैसेज कैसे भेजूं? इसके पास रिसीव ही नहीं होगा because it does not have a SIM card. So in that case, Android Studio gave us an benefit here because we are not the only ones creating this app, right? इससे पहले भी create हो चुके हैं. तो उन्होंने ये फीचर हमें दिया है जिसके लिए हम लोग यहाँ पे phone feature है in this extended controls, wherein we can just type down the message. Here we can just put the message. Let's say I'm changing the number again here, 1234 1234 12. Okay, and let's say I'm changing the message. Hello. Hello, how are you? Okay, and now if I send it, तो वो message यहाँ पे pop up होगा. If I click on it, you can see कि 1234 1234 12 से मुझे message आया hello how are you. That's it. और कुछ difference नहीं है इसमें. Nothing else. Okay. Next we go to the sending of messages. Yes. Now that we have done the receiving of messages, now we come to sending of messages. So like I told you, like someone asked me कि हम लोग request हमने सिर्फ अभी receiving की है, हमने sending की क्यों नहीं की है ना? तो अब हम sending की भी permission लेंगे. Just a minute. Hello. I'm in a meeting right now. मैं बाद में बात करूँ please? Okay. Yeah, sorry. So now that we have done the receiving of the messages, now we can talk about the sending of the messages. So similarly, like we use an emulator here. Now again, you might have the question कि हम send कैसे करेंगे अगर हमारे पास वो ही नहीं है तो. So we'll send it using the same way. Since it does not have a SIM card, again we'll use this extended control to send the message. But how is that done? Again, we need a permission. Again, we need a broadcast to send it. So not just receiver. Now we want a sender. Like now we want to send the message. But sending is pretty easier since we have already coded our SMS receiver here. It's pretty easier as compared to what we did earlier. So for this, we'll write down. So before that, anyone has any doubt till here? Like what I did here, because I already cleared it. But still, if anyone has any doubt regarding this emulator, why we use this again, you can ask. Okay, I guess there's no doubt. Okay. Cool. ठीक है. So अभी let's have this again. So now that we have done this logging of message and everything, हमने इसको send कर receive कर लिया, सब कर लिया. Now we have to send a message. So receiving a message is done by SMS message and sending a message is done by SMS manager. You find it here. SMS manager class का नाम है again. We need an object for it. Is equal to SMS manager dot get default. Sorry, get default. I'll explain it to you. First, let me write it down. Send text message, and let's say I have to send a number. Let's say again I type a number 12345 12345. Just type it down with me, and then I'll explain what it means and what I will share. Why have we created in this one? Achha, ठीक है. We have created this here. The question is that why have we written the code for sending a message in the SMS receiver only? So SMS receiver, it's not that this is something related to this class is something related to SMS receiving purpose. No, SMS receiver is just a name given to this class. You can also name it Tamanna receiver or any receiver. That's not an issue. वो बस एक क्लास का नाम है. You can make it SMS sending receiving कुछ भी. तो कुछ भी दे सकते हो. ऐसा ऐसा कुछ रोल नहीं है. Basically primarily वो क्या कर रहे हैं broadcast receiver से. So broadcast receiver is capable of sending and receiving it. So usme there is no issue. You can name it anything you want. SMS receiver ka there is no role with receiving a message. It's just a class name. Any doubts still here? Any doubts still here? I guess there are none. I didn't have received any message also. Not a message. Okay, ठीक है. So I guess that's clear. तो basically हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं? हम लोग message send कर रहे हैं. ठीक है. So as I said, when we receive, we use SMS message class. When we send, we use SMS manager class because it is basically managing the messages. This is an in detail, in depth class, a different altogether class, SMS manager, SMS message. So it's very in depth. So अभी के लिए we just need to focus upon कि जब receive करे तो SMS message class चाहिए, send करे तो हमें SMS manager class चाहिए. This is an object created of SMS manager and SMS manager dot get default. तो default हमने सारा function इसके अंदर आ जाएगा. ठीक है. So अब हम क्या कर रहे हैं कि SMS मैनेजर का सेंड टेक्स्ट. तो बेसिकली हम जो इसमें SMS मैनेजर का गेट डिफॉल्ट कर रहे हैं, दिस इज प्राइमरली फॉर गेटिंग जो उसकी बेसिक आईडी है, द सब्सक्रिप्शन जो उसकी डिफॉल्ट बाय डिफॉल्ट जो आईडी है, डिफॉल्ट आईडी रिलेटेड टू दैट मैसेज, वी आर गेटिंग दैट. Like we had here in PDU, similarly we are getting the default ID here. So SMS manager, this object sent text message. Now this has many parameters associated to it. 1, 2, 3, like the phone number, destination address, मतलब कहाँ जाना है, किस number पे message जाना है. SC address, that is the source address. Source address मतलब कि what is the sender's phone number. Since again I'm using an emulator के अंदर कोई SIM card नहीं है, so I have put it null. You can put any phone number that you have. Like if you're using a virtual device, so you will put your phone number obviously. But I don't have a virtual device here. I have an emulator, so I've put null here. Then the text, जो actually message की body है. So I've written hello, my name is Tamanna. That's my message. Then the sent intent and the delivery intent. Now if you remember when I was explaining PDUs to you, I told you that earlier we used to receive when there was like a long back, when messages were sent from a phone, there was a lot of information that was going with it कि कब आया, कैसे आया, कहाँ से गया. So sent intent is कि when was the message sent, the time of the message sending, and delivery intent is कि message कब मिला. So we don't want that information, any of it, तो मैंने उसको दोनों को null कर दिया. So we just interested in कि where the message has to go and what is the message. Otherwise everything is null in here. ठीक है? Any doubts here?
No, it's okay.
ठीक है. So now we go back to manifest. अब हमने receiving का तो ले लिया था permission. Now we need it for sending. So what will be right? Android dot इसके लगा if you just directly write down send, you get it directly. Send SMS. ठीक है. So now we have the permission for sending it as well. So I'll just run it. So is any one of you using your virtual device to run it? Like any one of you in the meet?
Yeah, I'm using.
So if you can try it, does this happen? Like, are you able to do it with a virtual device?
Yeah, message was working.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
able to send the
So,
message.
yeah, you were able to send the message and receive the message. So that is the reason. So when you're using an emulator, it does not have a SIM card. So इसलिए हम ना receive कर पा रहे हैं ना send कर पा रहे हैं, तो हमको यहाँ पे extended control की जरूरत पड़ रही है. But when you're using your virtual device, I'm not using a virtual device right now. And it's if you do not know how to use a virtual device, I can tell it to you. First, you need to set up developer options in your phone. And if you do not know how to turn it on, just go to your settings and search, go to your phone setting and search for developer options. I'll write it down here. Developer options. Okay. And इसमें there will be a feature to turn on the developer options, or there will be कि model वाले को you have to click, build number को you have to click 7-8 times and then the developer. It depends upon the model of your phone. So once you turn on your developer options, after that you can pair it using your Wi-Fi or using a USB cable or anything. You can also pair it using Wi-Fi. So this is more easier way of doing it. So just click on pair device using Wi-Fi and this box opens up. So now, when you go to your settings, I'll also open my settings to tell you in a proper way. Now, if you go to your settings and click on search for developer options, like in my phone, it shows something else. Maybe your phone is of other make, it might show you something else. So you might have to look upon it on Google or something, and how do you turn on developer options on this mobile, or this is this model number. So it will show you easily कि कैसे उसपे on करते हैं. So when you search for developer options, you have either USB debugging or wireless debugging. USB debugging क्या होता है कि you can connect your phone and laptop through a USB cable, and then whatever changes you make to your application here, instead of the emulator, your application is visible on your phone. And wireless debugging क्या होता है कि if your device, your phone and your laptop where your Android Studio is open, if both of them are open on are connected to the same Wi-Fi, you can pair both of these devices over Wi-Fi. So wireless debugging पे if you click, you will have an option to scan QR code or maybe pair it using a code. So you have both of these options available. So if you can scan the QR code, it will scan it and you can pair it. Otherwise, you can just like if I click on the pairing with device, I've clicked it on my phone. If it shows here, yeah. So my notification has come up on my phone for wireless debugging as well. So you can just pair it up. I hope Sohail has taught that in the first session कि कैसे emulator या virtual device set करते हैं. So that is how you can check it upon on your phone. So that's how you send and receive message. And I think one person in the meet has been doing it on the virtual device. So he's already sent a message. So अब इसमें क्या है? Now there is one more thing in this कि we have done this explicitly. एक्सप्लिसिटली मतलब कि हमने हार्ड कोड किया है फोन नंबर को कि हमें इसी फोन नंबर पे मैसेज पहुंचाना है और यही टेक्स्ट पहुंचाना है, राइट. हमने स्पेसिफिकली लिखा है कि यही मैसेज है, यही फोन नंबर है. नाउ दैट इज नॉट हाउ इट्स डन, राइट. व्हेन यू आर टाइपिंग, व्हेन यू आर सेंडिंग अ मैसेज टू समवन, इट्स नॉट बाय डिफॉल्ट सेट कि यस मेरे को हमेशा हेलो माय नेम इज तमन्ना ही भेजना है. आई माइट हैव टू सेंड समथिंग एल्स. So in that case, you need to create an activity wherein you put an edit text, like here. You put an edit text here. You put a button here, let's say a button. Okay. So in edit text, you have one more, let's say phone number here. Okay. So you have your phone number here, you have your message here. So in that case, it becomes more of a chatting application or more of a messaging application, wherein you let the user enter the phone number, let the user enter the text and the send button. तो यहाँ पे क्या होगा, वहाँ पे उसकी जगह पे कि we'll store that, जैसे हमने यहाँ पे किया था कि हमने जो टेक्स्ट है उसको स्ट्रिंग टेक्स्ट के अंदर स्टोर किया था, वैसे ही वी कैन स्टोर इट हियर कि वी कैन स्टोर द फोन नंबर इन अ स्ट्रिंग, वी कैन स्टोर द मैसेज इन अ स्ट्रिंग एंड पुट इट इनसाइड कि हाँ इसको भेजना है, यहाँ ये मैसेज भेजना है. तो यहाँ पे हमने हार्ड कोड किया सबको. वहां पे इन दिस केस also we are actually hard coded because यहाँ पे भी हमारे पास set था already, but you can also keep an edit text here and make it. So that's up to your imagination, creativity and your needs कि आपको कैसे अपना application basically चाहिए. So this is how basically you are sending and receiving your messages. So is there any doubt till here? Then we can just go up to calling feature. That's very short and precise. What is the class calendar? Class has been out. Put extra. Okay. You have this doubt in put extra. Abhi when I'll tell about the calling feature, when I'll do write its code, then you'll be able to understand well कि put extra का role क्या है. If you have any other doubt, you can just let me know. That's okay. Anything else? Yeah, I will be taking any placement related doubts, but after this session, we'll not disturb it in between. If you have any doubts, we can sort it out later related to placements. Anything else? Okay, ठीक है. I guess there are none. So now we can move finally to the last segment for today's session. That is your calling feature. So इसी के अंदर I'm gonna put a calling feature itself. This was it last. Let me make it here. I'll remove this hello world and I'll remove this name. I'll do it from the scratch itself. It's okay. So here in my main activity, we need to make a calling application. As I said कि हमने SMS में default app use किया था, तो इसमें हम लोग एक calling basic calling application ready करते हैं. ठीक है. So what do we need in that calling application? We are taking a user input for the number. कि किस number पे call करना है and just a simple button कि हाँ when you click on that button the call has to be made. That's it. So I make it 0 0 again. Top constraint and the button also 0 0 and top constraint. ठीक है. So it's just a very weak and vague UI and that's okay. And I'm making it call and यहाँ पे I'm giving a hint as phone number. Okay. And give it an ID. Phone. And give it an ID button. Just do it till here. Let me know if you've done it and if you have any doubts. I don't think there's any doubt till here. Yeah, ये हम लोग default phone application use नहीं कर रहे हैं. We are using an application. So, like we're creating an application. So you can add many features. That yes, you can have a contact list using a recycler view. You can have many multiple things. But I'm just showing you कि calling करते कैसे हैं. तो उसके लिए मैं बस एक दो चीजें डाल दी, दो components. That is edit text wherein you enter your phone number and your button कि हाँ इस button को click करोगे then the calling is done. That's it. Cool. So let's go to the main activity now. Right here. So we have created two components. I'm making two components. Edit text, number, or let's say ed, and button, btn. Coming down here, edit text. Sorry, et is equal to find q by id r dot id dot phone. Was it phone? Yeah, that was phone. है ना? तो ये ID यहाँ पे है. We are writing the ID here. Then again, button is equal to find button. Okay, so I guess ये doubt पहले था. I forgot to clear it. I saw it and I remembered कि पहले भी when I extended this red line, the error that you're seeing, ये error किस लिए है? This is because here you see these warnings flashed here. These are not very prominent warnings कि इस चक्कर में हमारा app run नहीं करेगा. So what simple we can do is just click on it, press Alt Enter, you get an option to suppress missing inflated with annotation. Click on it, अपने आप यहाँ पे एक line आ जाएगी, suppress lint missing inflated, so automatically that error goes off. That's it. And वो भी error जो यहाँ पे है just because we have hard coded this string here. That's it. और कुछ नहीं है. You see this hard coded text. So that's okay. Any doubts still here? Okay. So now we just have button dot set on click listener new view on click listener public void on click. So ये this function के अंदर we write down everything that we need to be performed once we click on that button. So first I write string number. तो जो भी नंबर यूजर ने एंटर किया है उस एडिट टेक्स्ट में, so we want that to be saved, so I'm writing et.getText, मतलब et मतलब एडिट टेक्स्ट में जो भी नंबर आया है, जो भी टेक्स्ट आया है, I'm getting that and converting it to string because Java में everything is done using a string. Then string intent, intent is equal to new intent, and as I told you there are multiple actions. जैसे इसमें हमने एक्शन दूसरा लिया था, इसमें हम लोग एक्शन ले रहे हैं कॉल करने का, एक्शन कॉल intent dot set data URI parse. I'll explain what is this. In bracket you need to write TEL, that's for telephone, and that is an important thing to write, otherwise it won't execute, plus your phone number, जो भी हमने phone number लिया है is edit text में, वो हमने कहाँ store किया इस number में, so I'm writing this number. Okay, URI is import class. I'll explain what is URI. Again, start activity, intent. Okay, I'll run this to see if there's any error in here. Okay, so now if you see my device, my virtual device has been connected to it. If you see, so okay, I'll run this on my virtual device itself, and then you can just see. I'll turn on the camera to show it to you. Let's see if it builds successfully. So I have received my what do we say? I have got my application here on my phone, but there's one thing, we didn't ask for any permission, so we need the permission as well here. Users permission, call phone. There is also one more thing I'll show you. Users permission. There's not showing it right now. Okay. So generally there is an option to dial phone and call phone. So call phone and dial phone are different things. Dial phone is when it opens up the dialing pad in front of you, and call phone is जब वो directly call कर देता है with the option given to you. You have to choose your SIM card or like whatever whenever you make a call. So dial phone is when it opens up the dialing pad, and call phone is when it calls the number directly. So here I've taken call phone and rerun it. It is installed. Okay, so it is loaded on my screen. How do I show it? I can just turn on the camera here if you see. So here if you see, this is my device. So the application is directly here. This is how your virtual device actually works. तो जो भी हमने वहाँ पे run किया था, जो भी implement किया था, it is here on my screen now. So you have your option for entering your phone number and your option to call. So if I just put in a number here, let's say my other number I'm entering. So I have put in my number here, and if I click on the call button, since I have two SIM cards on my phone, so it has given me an option to choose a SIM card, and if I choose a SIM card, it has directly started calling it. So similarly, you can do it in your emulator as well if you want. I'll show it in the emulator also. I'll just change the device from here. I just wanted to show you virtual device पे कैसा लगता है, so I showed it on my phone. Abhi you see it here. Let us see if it has the permission. So where is this? This is calling SMS. I have to check if it has the permissions. So no permissions granted. I'll grant it for phone and SMS. Allow. allow. ठीक है, so I'll rerun it. So now if I enter any phone number, let's say, and if any one of you has any doubt, you can text me on this number. मैं enter कर रही हूँ. Just click on call and it starts to call that number. Now इसमें सिम कार्ड नहीं है, वो बस डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन दे रहा है. You might wonder जब कैसे फोन चला गया. इसमें सिम कार्ड नहीं है, वो बस डेमो दे रहा है कि ऐसे कॉल जाती है, लाइक एग्जीक्यूट हो गया ढंग से आपका कोड. इट्स जस्ट अ डेमो. ठीक है, दिस इज योर बेसिक कॉलिंग फीचर. So here and you can make your calling feature की हाँ contact name, contact feature, image भी है, everything you can add as per your requirements. But this is how your basic calling works. So just these 4 lines and you can make a call. Just these 4 lines. And if at all you want a hard coded one, let's say अभी तो हमने इसमें default रखा कि the user can enter his or her phone number on his own and make a call. But if you want a specific number to be called every time, so isme you can just instead of number put in that number. Let's say any number I write, and then if you press the call button, it will always call that number itself. But हमने इसको hard code नहीं किया, हमने इसको रखा है कि number जो भी user enter करे वैसे ही होगा. So any doubts so far on this calling or SMS? If not, then we can conclude with the session. Okay, now what's up doubt? Okay. अरे I just said कि कॉल इसलिए हो पा रही है इसमें कॉल नहीं जा रही है. मेरे फोन पे कोई कॉल नहीं आ रहा है. If you can't ring, you can't hear any ringing sound, right? मेरे फोन पे कोई कॉल नहीं आई है अभी इस टाइम पे. That is because इसमें कोई सिम कार्ड नहीं है कॉल करने के लिए. सिर्फ डेमो दे रहा है कि कॉल हो जाएगी ऐसे करके. It's not actually calling me. But if you run it on a virtual device, it will actually make your call. That's not an issue. अपने आप हो जाएगा कॉल. So any other doubts or problems that you have or related to placements, you can ask. Otherwise, yes, we can conclude the session.
Just share that screen one more time. Java file.
Sure.
I was writing.
What's the doubt? Acha, right. I forgot to explain this. Sorry, my fault. Set data and earlier I said कि यहाँ पे भी we have put extra. So set data and put extra you can say are almost the same. Sorry, you were writing the code. Sorry. So set data and put extra are almost the same thing. You can say हम लोग बस intent के through एक message पहुंचाना चाह रहे हैं. दोनों में ही कंटेंट जाता है, दोनों में ही मैसेज जा रहा है कि हमें क्या चाहिए. लेट्स से मुझे यहाँ पे कॉल करना है, तो किस नंबर पे कॉल करना है. लाइक एक्शन तो ठीक है, एक्शन करना है, कॉल करना है, ठीक है. किसको कॉल करना है वो गया डेटा के अंदर, लाइक सेट डेटा के अंदर, राइट. सेट डेटा में आप पुट द नंबर कि हाँ इस डेटा पे कॉल करना है. उधर क्या था कि एक्शन क्या है कि एक्शन सेंड करना है, ठीक है. टेक्स्ट टाइप इज प्लेन. देन एक्स्ट्रा इज की एक्स्ट्रा में क्या जा रहा है कि एक्स्ट्रा टेक्स्ट से टेक्स्ट, मतलब जो टेक्स्ट यहाँ पे हमें शेयर करना है. सो नाउ व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन पुट एक्स्ट्रा एंड सेट डेटा. तो बेसिकली सेट डेटा जो होता है इट इज मोर ऑफ योर set data is more of when you are sending a particular URI object. URI object we am telling you URI क्या है, maybe a location you are sending or maybe कोई फाइल आप भेज रहे हो. बट पुट एक्स्ट्रा जनरली तब आता है जब आप लोग कोई टेक्स्ट या कोई सिंपल डेटा टाइप भेज रहे, जैसे कि कोई नंबर भेज रहे, नंबर एज इन नॉट दिस फोन नंबर like a normal digit number or like some decimal number or a normal plain text that you're sending. So that generally we use put extra. And then we talk about URI. So URI is basically your uniform resource indicator. So you must have been, you have heard URL, that uniform resource locator. So universal resource locator. तो उसमें क्या होता है कि बेसिकली आपकी जो साइट्स होती हैं तो हम उनकी बात करते हैं, राइट? जैसे इसका यूआरएल ये है, इस साइट का यूआरएल ये है, राइट? तो वी टॉक अबाउट दैट, तो यूनिफॉर्म रिसोर्स लोकेटर में हम उसकी बात करते हैं. देन यू हैव यूआरएन, दैट इज यूनिफॉर्म रिसोर्स नेम. Let's say I'll give you an example, a simple example to explain this. Let's say my name is Tamanna and I stay in New Delhi. So that is my location and that is my name. Tamanna is my name and my where I live is New Delhi. That's my address. Let's say that's my address, New Delhi. So up URN is my name, that is uniform resource name is my name Tamanna, and address, that is uniform resource locator, is my this Delhi. So basically what I'm trying to do is कि URI is actually a mixture of both. कि अगर मुझे specifically किसी एक चीज को uniformly access करना है तो URI is a thing which is uniform resource indicator कि वो comprises of both URL and URN. तो URN is nothing but a sub part of URI. तो URI में क्या हो रहा है कि हम लोग specifically उसको बोल रहे हैं कि इस नंबर पे कॉल कर. So this is in total URI. अगर आप किसी वेबसाइट या लिंक पे जाते हो तो हम URL यूज करते हैं. URN is not very much common. URN because names can be common, right? There can be many other tamannas in this world. तो URL लेकिन एक ही रहता है, एक साइट का सिर्फ एक significant URL रहेगा. So that is different. Generally URL and URI are more into use than URN. So this is the case. So URI पास में हम ये कर रहे हैं कि हम लोग उसको बोल रहे हैं कि ये फोन नंबर पे उसको यूनिफॉर्मली रिसोर्स से उसको लोकेट करके उसको कॉल करना है. टेलीफोन इज इम्पोर्टेंट, दैट्स अ की हियर, दैट इज नॉट टू बी चेंज्ड. देन पार्स, हम उसको पार्स कर रहे हैं, हम उसको बोल रहे हैं कि URI का जो ये है इस ऑब्जेक्ट को पार्स करना है. दैट्स इट, देयर इज नथिंग एल्स. एंड देन अगेन स्टार्ट एक्टिविटी इंटेंट, कि वो जो इंटेंट है उसको स्टार्ट करना है. दैट्स इट.
So I think all the doubts are clear now.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will conclude the second session then.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
So thank you, Tamanna Di, for joining us. We look forward for the possibility of having you conduct similar engaging sessions. It has been an exciting and informative session. So as we are concluding the event, it's a request to all of you, as I said in the previous session, that you have to fill a feedback form and we'll provide you the link in the chat section. Also in the PPT. Akshit, can you just share the PPT? We can. Also, I would like to thank our technical team who worked tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure that this event ran smoothly. They have done an incredible job of managing the technical aspects of this event, and we couldn't have done it without them. And finally, I want to thank each and every one of you for attending this event. Your presence and participation have made it a success, and we hope you found it valuable and informative. So let's stay connected, share our knowledge and experience, and work towards together to drive innovation and progress. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you.
Thank you, Dishika.
Thank you guys for joining. It was I hope you all enjoyed. You all had something to learn from these sessions. We'll continue these sessions. This was just Andro Series 1.0, and we'll have similar sessions in the upcoming academic years. And hopefully, I guess all of you who have participated here continue taking part in our events. And thank you for participating. And we hereby conclude the event. Thank you, guys. Guys, if you could just hold on for a couple of minutes, we'll have Tamanna Didi back in the meet, and then we can just have a group photo sort of thing. Is it okay, Didi, if we can go for a group photo of the whole virtual group photo sort of thing?
Yeah,
For
sure,
that
sure,
only,
sure,
yeah.
sure.
So, guys, all of you, if you can just turn on your camera, it'll be better.
Am I the only one who's turned on the camera? Okay. I see Dishita now.
Yeah, I guess it's fine, Didi. I think we have taken.
Okay, great.
Really nice to have you back, Didi. Back
It was a
with
pleasure.
us.
And great work as a team. Good work.
Thank you, Didi. Thank you.
Like every part was perfect. Good job.
Yeah.